Well, as India celebrates its 78th Independence Day, we take a moment to look back at our history, particularly at the great triumph of our armed forces in 1971. Today, we pay tribute to the valor, grit and sacrifice of all those heroes who defended the motherland and fought and brought glory to India. We have with us 7 veterans who fought valiantly in the 1971 war, whose efforts yielded victory for India within merely 13 days. Let's hear it from them, their tales of sacrifice and their success. Joining us today at this point in time is Lieutenant General Zameeruddin Shah. Colonel Ashok Tara also joins us on the show. Major General G.G. Dwivedi is with us on the broadcast as well. Brigadier B.K. Khanna joins us on the show as well. Wing Commander S.S. Krishnamurthy is here. Lieutenant Colonel Kulvinder Singh joins us on the program as well. And Colonel V.K. Sahi will also be joining us on the program shortly. All right, starting with Lieutenant General Zameeruddin Shah, who was posted in the Jaisalmer sector during the war in 1971. He helped lead part of the operations at the Longewala when 120 Indians faced 4,000 Pakistani troops. Prior to the war, then Chief of Army Staff Sam Manekshaw visited the sector to boost the morale of the troops. Here, Field Marshal Manekshaw gave a list of instructions pertaining to the conduct of the troops during the war. This was Lieutenant General Shah's first of several meetings with Sam Manekshaw. Field Marshal Manekshaw's leadership displayed, as Lieutenant General Shah has described in his memoir, left a lasting impact on him as well. Lieutenant General Zameeruddin Shah, sir, appreciate you speaking with us. Sir, it's 15th August. It's our Independence Day, the 78th at that. But we're going to go back in history to that day in 1971 when, Sam Manekshaw, in fact, took charge of the situation. How do you remember that meeting with him, sir?
Firstly, I would like to thank NewsX for inviting me. Also, I would like to convey greetings to all Indians on the Independence Day. In 1971, I was a young captain and I had 3 years service. And in September 71, we moved to a place short of the north. And there was a lot of rumor mongering going on. Are we going to go into Pakistan? Are we not? Till in September, Field Marshal Manekshaw, September, October, he was called in to address all troops of the Battle Axe Division. We were about 300 to 400 officers sitting on a sand dune, and there was a table with a 4G blanket and a microphone. And we heard Sam Manekshaw's chopper landing. He came down to where we were sitting, brushed aside the chair, climbed out onto the table and said, "I don't need a mic," and addressed us loudly. And he says 3 or 4 things which were ingrained in my mind. First, he said, "Ensure victory." Second, he says, "I am giving you orders. Prisoners of war will not be ill-treated." Next, he said, "There'll be no looting or booty taking." And lastly, he said, "Keep away from the Begums." That he meant Pakistani women. He jumped off the table after his short address to us, had a cup of tea in the regulation mug, and was off to another formation. So this short, crisp address had us totally motivated. We knew that we are going to go in. There was no doubt about it. And we were already prepared, but we got thoroughly ready, absolutely ready. I would say that Sam Manekshaw was an enigma. He had this quality where he could enthuse the entire command. Let it be a war game, let it be military matters, and let it be humor. I mean, he could banter endlessly. So this is the sort of leader. Now, let me also tell you that at that time in 1971, the government of India was under a lot of pressure from Bengali refugees who had come in from Bangladesh, 6 million of them. And Sam Manekshaw was given a hint that he should go into East Pakistan, now Bangladesh, as soon as possible. He advised the Prime Minister against such an action in June or July for 2 or 3 reasons. Firstly, he explained that the passes with China would be open, so they could interfere. Next, the rivers, and Bangladesh is riverine territory, would be in spate, and that would impede operations. Mrs. Gandhi took this advice and gave him November or December for the operation. So 3rd December was the time when Pakistan launched a preemptive attack on Jodhpur and other airfields. Our ammunition column, my regiment was in Tanaut. The ammunition column moving in from Jodhpur got enmeshed in this whole thing, but reached us safely. So we were totally ready because of the great leadership provided by Sam Manekshaw. I think leaders of that quality, leaders who have this ability to enthuse their subordinates, is totally essential in the armed forces. Sam Manekshaw was, I would say, the best military leader I've had the privilege of serving under. If you want more details of what happened, I can cover it. But this
so what are some of your other memories from 1971?
Yes. So we waited, and on 3rd of December 1971, as I said, Pakistan launched a preemptive attack. Of course, we were to go in on 4th December from Tanaut. Our objective was Rahim Yar Khan, which is in Pakistani Sindh, which is a communication and railway center. So the entire division was in the forward assembly area north of Tanaut. And on the night 3rd, 4th December, we launched a preemptive operation onto a fortress called Islamgarh. All this is covered in this wonderful book written by my officer of my regiment, who was a battery commander, Lieutenant Colonel Kulwinder Singh. It gives graphically all the details. The Pakistanis smelled a rat, and we were going in from Tanaut. They came in from the west via Longewala. They launched their offensive on the 3rd and had the aim of bypassing Longewala, which was held by one company of the 23 Punjab and one battery of 1701 field battery. They had plans of bypassing Longewala and Sadiwala and going in straight for Jaisalmer. Fortunately, the terrain was very hostile and their mechanized and soft vehicles got bogged down. So they only reached Longewala on night 4th, 5th December. By that time, there was change in the orders given, and they were told to attack Longewala on night 4th, 5th December. We were to the east of this Pakistani column going in. If we had gone in earlier, they would have struck our rear. So we turned westwards and headed for Longewala. My regiment, with the leading battery under Major Kulwinder, now Colonel Kulwinder Singh, deployed at Longewala on morning of 4th, 5th December and provided effective gunfire.
All right, sir.
The effect of this was that we separated the Pakistani armor from the infantry, which allowed next morning the Air Force to come in and destroy the Pakistani tanks. So this was the initial action on morning of 4th, 5th December. After that, the Pakistanis withdrew. They lost, it was 22 armored regiment. They lost a whole lot of tanks. We pursued them into Pakistani Sindh, and there we sat for another 6 months without much opposition. And the only problem we had was the scorpions and the snakes and the mosquitoes. But this was a memorable stay in.
So thank you for recounting that story. That's a great narration. Thank you so much, sir. In fact, we're going to speak to our next guest also. The 13-day long war in 1971 ended with India's victory. 93,000 Pakistani troops surrendered to the Indian Army, but not all Pakistani soldiers were aware of their surrender. Several Pakistani soldiers were posted at the Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's residence in Dhanmondi. They were holding the family of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman hostage. Those held hostage in Dhanmondi included Sheikh Hasina. Reportedly, the Pakistani soldiers had orders to wipe the family out. However, those orders were never carried out through all because of the immense bravery and daring of one Indian soldier, Colonel Ashok Tara. He's in fact with us as well. Colonel Ashok Tara, thank you for speaking with us. What do you remember of that day? If we talk about the last minutes of the war, when Pakistan was about to surrender and India was, leading this war. What are your memories of that day? And of course, you were, immensely helpful in making sure that Mujibur Rahman and his family were not executed. What can you tell us about that day, sir?
Before I come to your point, I would like to say that I'm involved with Liberation War from March 71 till the war over liberation was done, and till January 24, when I got the opportunity and honor to meet Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. When I say I'm involved physically. Before war, all military and Mukti Bahani actions, as well as the major battle Ganga Sagar, where I got the Veer Chakra, and after that proceeding through Meghna River and reaching to Dhaka on 15-16 night. In between my, as I say, physical involvement, I trained Mukti Bahani, I went with Mukti Bahani inside, then later on to Agartala. I gone through a skirmish at the border where I got made the Pakistanis to display a white flag because I brought heavy fire and side raids on them, and they wanted to peace. Therefore, they showed white flag. And later on, very major battle they fought before war at Dhalai Tea Garden. Also, I took very active part and captured the factory of the area where heavy casualty on both sides. They were officers and Johns. Now, 3rd December, we attacked the battle Ganga Sagar railway station, which is opposite to Agartala, about 5 kilometers inside. It was a surprise attack, as you can say, to some extent, suicidal attack along single file along the railway line. We attacked it, and when first bunker, when I met, they opened fire, and one of my JCO was injured. I lied down. I took out the mortar cocktail, the normal language, the patrol bomb, and threw on the bunker. Bunker got fired. Then I locked the hand grenade inside bunker, and bunker just blew up. But 2 Pakistani were still firing MMG, injured one. I crawled, pulled the MMG, and when they ran, my Chinese, the fired and killed. And left side, the other company, Bravo company, which was led by the Major Opikoli, but led by Lance like Albertica, who cleared the MMG, though he got wounded, very serious wounded. However, he crawled and destroyed the MMG of Pakistani, which stopped our attack on that feature. And he got wounded and died, martyred, and got PBC. And I got VRC in this battle, and then moved ahead. And then, as you know, everywhere the Indian Army started advancing, we advanced across from Meghna River. And on the 15th night, I was told to capture Dhaka airport. 15-16 night, with my company, attacked the Dhaka airport, though it was not much resistance. However, we inflicted some casualty on them and captured the 3 people and tried to capture it. But 16th morning, it was, the Dhaka airport was captured. 16th afternoon, at 4 o'clock, the Pakistani army surrendered to Indian army and to the Bangladesh army. I was told on 17th morning to secure the Dhaka airport so that a lot of VIP coming to visit the liberated Bangladesh. At that time, at 0900 hours, one Muktiwani Yoda, aide of Sheikh Mujib Rahman, he came and told my CEO that the family of Sheikh Mujib Rahman is under the captivity of Pakistanis and they would be killed any time, because a day before they tried to kill them, but however, they were not successful in that. But as the Pakistanis surrendered, the my CEO also took it in a normal way. He said it won't be that much serious. Then when I was told, I also took it in a normal way, took two Jawans, and with a guide, I moved toward Dhan Mandi where they were arrested. When I reached short of the, about 100 yards short of the house, there was a big crowd. There were BBC media, Indian media, Bangladesh media, as well local Muktiwani and local people were there. They stopped me. They said, don't go. They fired. They said, just a few minutes back, they fired on this crowd. And just before that, the one lady doctor who was working, also a reporter, when moved toward the house, they fired and killed her. And they showed me that car with the bullets and the dead body of the lady doctor. Now, I had two persons I could not attack. The most important was, it's not the capturing of that, but the life, the safety of the life of the family. Therefore, before that I served in 9 para commando and 2 para also, that determination was there. I decided, as Pakistan already surrendered, I made them with my guts and wits to surrender so that the family is safe. And if I ask my senior officer, number of questions will be asked, and if they agree and the army comes, it will take hell of a time. Therefore, I gave my weapon to my Jawans. I told them stay there and move ahead without weapon towards the house. When I stopped there the car, I told them in Hindi, go ahead, that there was no response. Then after some time, I spoke in English, is there anybody? There was no response. I moved slowly. When I reached near the gate of the house was very small, 3-bedroom, single story. They had a bunker on the top with the LMG, the bunker on the gate, the sentry with a rifle, and 2 bunkers behind. There were approximately 10 to 12 chaps. I told them that I had come with uniform without weapon to tell that the Pakistani has surrendered, but they did not agree. And I repeatedly, still they don't agree, and they use all the languages, the Punjabi abusive languages, and even so that Indian army is not that strong, we can defeat them and we'll finish them, and what not. They used all type of words. But when I was going on this talk, there one Indian helicopter flew over us, and I immediately said, look at that, the helicopter. Have you ever seen the Indian helicopter over Dhaka? It means the Indian army has come in Dhaka, and I am in uniform, without weapon, cross over Dhaka, I come to you. It's not that enough to say that the Pakistani has surrendered. But however, they did not agree. To create a fear, they fired 1 round over me on the public and told me that if you don't go back, we'll fire at you and kill you. I stood there and I said, okay, you kill me, but don't forget that the Muktiwani Indian army will come and kill all of you, and you won't be knowing that what will happen to your dead body. Like this, they kept on, they told the other sentries to load the weapons. The weapons were loaded. I stood there, opened the gate, just enter. The bayonet of the rifle of the sentry was a gate, but touching my body. He brought that bayonet rifle close to my body, touching my body. And he was shivering because he never saw the Indian army officer so close to him. However, without making a bold action, I just pushed the rifle away from my body. But I was talking to the commander, and he said he was a little cooled down than what he was initially talking. Then he said he would like to speak to his seniors. In that time, there was a voice came from inside the house. That voice was Mrs. Sheikh Mujib Rahman, the wife of Mujib Rahman, Sheikh Hasina ji, her younger sister, brother, others. They said that don't believe them. They are criminals. they could do anything. They can fire and kill. And without looking at them, I just with the in their head, yes, hold on, without saying, by action, but kept my eyes on that commander because I didn't want to give any chance to him to just change his mind, and told him, don't delay. Your family is waiting in Pakistan, and if you don't there, we'll kill you and not there. And I kept enforcing them again and again. And then at the last I said again that if you don't surrender, your family, and to put the pressure on them, and psychologically I said, your children, your wife, your parents, they're still waiting. And
right,
not
sir.
only they'll not see you, they will not even see a dead body of yours. And they somehow agreed. But I knew the weapons are loaded. I told them, leave the weapons and come down. When they came down, I opened the house, the door of the house, and Mrs. Sheikh Mujir, she opened the door, came and embraced me and said, the God has sent to you to save us, and you are my son. And Sheikh Hasina Ji there, she also say, if there's sympathy like a brother, sister, and the other family member. During that time, which I like to say, that Mr. Khoka, who was aide of Sheikh Mujir Rahman, the cousin of Sheikh Mujir Rahman, and also freedom fighter, he was there, he brought the Bangladesh flag and handed over to Sheikh Hasina Ji. Sheikh Hasina Ji handed over the flag to me, the Bangladesh, said, you hoist this flag on my house. I went there and hoist the flag, removed the Pakistani flag, and put the Bangladesh flag. As I've been told, I was the first person who hosted the Bangladesh flag on the house of Sheikh Mujir Rahman. And this flag I threw. What happened? The Mrs. Sheikh Mujir Rahman and Sheikh Hasina Ji put the foot on the Pakistan flag and said, Joy Bangla. Everybody said, Joy Bangla.
That's a great story, sir. Appreciate you shared with us. It's a very interesting story, sir. And we are definitely proud of you, for showing so much courage and valor in that, pressure cooker kind of environment. All right, on 3rd December 1971, 14 Jat Regiment moved out from Agartala. Within a few hours on the morning of the 4th December, they captured the Lal Garh Mia Bazar. Bold offensive action proved decisive in the success, and this continued as 2 days later, the battalion went on to capture the Comilla town. Comilla was a strategically important communication center, and the battle to capture it was a bloody one. What is interesting is that in Comilla, in March that year, the Pakistani army slaughtered 17 Bengali officers and 953 Bengali soldiers. These wounds lingered for months. The day the Comilla cantonment was liberated, local citizens accorded an overwhelming welcome. Among those who fought valiantly to liberate Comilla was Major General G.G. Dwivedi. He joins us on the show today. He's a regular on our program. He's a think tank, a force to reckon with when it comes to defense topics and strategic issues. General Dwivedi, so thank you so much. First of all, very happy Independence Day to you, sir. What is your memory of this day that I just mentioned and introduced you with, sir?
Thank you, Vinny. It's always a pleasure to be on the NewsX. I also take this opportunity to extend my heartiest felicitation to Team NewsX and also to all the fellow citizens. At the same time, it's also time to recall the sacrifices made by our countrymen to gain independence. And to that extent, it's very personal because my father and grandfather also made a humble contribution. Now, coming to the brief introduction about the Battle of Comilla and thereafter. Well, incidentally, I joined the battalion on 1st December and fought the war with 1 day service. On 2nd December, we were ordered to go in, and our CO, Colonel Sabowal, called me and he said, son, you are indeed very lucky to starting your career on the battlefield. I think every soldier aspires for such a honor. So we went in on 4th December morning, and our first objective, as you rightly described, was Lalgarh, Bangalmuri and Mia Bazar. Ironically, our first attack was not a fully success, but we had a squadron armor of 7th Cavalry. This is the historical, I would say, battle where the armored squadron, they attacked Mia Bazar and saved the day, both for the 14 Jat, for themselves and also for the division. But coming to the Battle of Comilla, This was fought on the night of 7-8 December, and I was leading the Alpha Company. Alpha Company was the company which was in the lead, followed by the other companies. And as I was navigating, we had no maps, so we had captured one of the paramilitary Jawan of Pakistan Army, and he was leading me and the three few, what we call the navigating team. And our first objective was Thompson Bridge on the outskirts of Rumela. Now, as we had no maps, and this fellow almost walked us into the Pakistani defenses, we thought the Thompson Bridge must be a huge bridge, but it happened to be culvert. So what happened was that our company head was right into the enemy defenses. Now thereon, company commander Colonel Rai, then Major Rai, told me that you go back a little and ask the CO that should we attack because we already passed the objective. So as I was coming back, about hardly 30-40 meters, two Pakistani vehicles also, unknowingly got into it, and they were fired upon. Now, first vehicle was of Major Shah Nawaz, 2nd Command 23 Punjab. Now, his vehicle halted right in front of me, so I had a carbine, so I fired about 10-12 rounds, and there were 5-6 people sitting in the vehicle, and Major Shah Nawaz jumped out. So I fired at him. He took 2 bullets, but he managed to escape in the darkness because there was a little problem with my carbine. By the time I got it, he had gone away and the vehicle had got blown up. On the next day, Major Shah Nawaz was captured with a bullet in his stomach. So I had a first encounter just about 2 meters one-on-one with Major Shah Nawaz. Battle of Rumela was very bloody battle. We lost about 9 people in this, and our company Havaldar Major Kishan Singh got Veer Chakra, and also Major Rai, who was the company commander, got Sena Medal. Next battle was the Battle of Narayanganj. We crossed over to Daudpuri in helicopters. Narayanganj was one of the very formidable posts on the outskirts of Dhaka. And there was the first objective was Bandar. And it was very difficult objective because on one side there was water and there were well built up defenses. So a Charlie company under Major N.P. Singh attacked, and we took 12 dead and about 20 wounded, but we managed to get foothold, and thereafter my platoon and Alpha Company, we went in and captured the complete objective, and that was on the 15th December night. 16th December, we had to capture the other few of the outlying objectives before we got into Dhaka, and that's the day when the ceasefire was declared. Now I want to give you 3-4 perceptions of this whole battle because, as I said, I fought the battle with one disservice. First and foremost, I found that our biggest strength is our battalion spirit, camaraderie, and the izzat, the honor. In fact, we were equipped with the World War II equipment. I think Pakistan had better equipment, but when we call of the spirit deco, when we talk of the battalion spirit, now that was what I found was the paramount. Second point is that a soldier just fights for the mission. He fights for the company platoon. The nation and all comes much later, but it is the soldier fights for the honor, his own honor, honor of his platoon and company, and that's why we talk so much about this battalion spirit. Third point is, I also wish to share what kind of atrocities were committed by Pakistan. When we saw the bunkers, we found that telltale signs, the kind of clothes of the women, the bangles. And next day, on 17th December, when I went to patrol the Medna River, I found bodies floating. And that was the very clear evidence that last minute, the Pakistan army spared no effort to go in for a very major genocide which has no parallels. And my last point is, this victory was a historic victory. This victory was when Pakistan had all the resources to fight, but they lost the will to fight. Primarily, the officers let them down. And many Pakistani soldiers said, if only we had officers like Indian Army, we would have won this war. And my last very humble message to everyone who is listening to this, please remember, soldier fights for you. Make the soldier proud and worthy that his sacrifices are well honored when even he goes away while performing the duty. And I think nation owes to us, owes to the veterans, the simple honor. Because soldiers do not ask for anything more, but all they ask is the recognition that for the citizens we fought for, they were the worthy of the fight and the sacrifice. Vinit.
Thank you for sharing that story, sir. Really inspiring and motivating. Thank you so much. All right, Brigadier Dr. B.K. Khanna, 1971 war veteran. The day Dhaka was liberated, the city echoed with shouts of Joy Bangla. But among those who were hailed were not just the Mukti Bahini, but also the Indian troops who fought valiantly against the Pakistanis. Pakistan Army had developed a fortress strategy to defend Dhaka. However, India's strategic acumen helped us gain the upper hand and advantage and eventually break through their defenses. It all started with the para dropping at Tangel. And to share more about how India secured a decisive victory that important and fateful day, we are joined by Brigadier B.K. Khanna on the program. Brigadier B.K. Khanna, sir, appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much, sir. So first up, very many congratulations on this auspicious day. It's the 78th Independence Day for India today. And what better occasion than to remember and hail our heroes. And here you are with us. So you're the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of, what happened in Tangel, and how do you recollect that day?
Thank you very much for having me. First, through your channel, let me, in fact, convey my greetings on the 78th Independence Day to all the panelists, as also the complete nation. Remembering way back 1971, I had about 6 years of service at that time, another 5 years of service at that time, and I was in fact, 81 brigade. And that was basically we were in Nagaland. In fact, I'm part of the 8th Division, and General Rao was the GOC, and of course, we were told sometime in the month of August that we have to go and for the Bangladesh war. And that's all. From there, we were de-inducted. This thing also came to Dimapur, and of course, they did a couple of months. They said, no, we have to be prepared by about 20th of the November to go in. We, in fact, prepared because we were there in the insurgency road. And of course, going for an attack role into Bangladesh was something altogether different. So the concept had to be changed, and of course, had to be practiced with the people. So we came down there with the troops, etc., practiced for 2 months, and then of course moved to area which is between Nagar and Agartala. That's basically where our base was there only. And a lot of course, in fact, visits took place. General Rao was there, number time to come. And General Sagat Singh, of course, I must mention here, General Sagat, I have never seen a general like General Sagat Singh as of so before that, also, we have heard him as a major general, what he did in Sikkim. But in fact, here, of course, was the time because we saw him actually. In fact, what he can do. I mean, he is one of the greatest general, in fact, ever happened as far as the Indian Army is concerned. Okay, in fact, the thing is that we started the operation sometime in the last week of November. Before the war had started, Chhatrapur was the BOP that we were, of course, we went in this thing and then captured it after initially casualties were there. Let me, in fact, confess it, there were only about 9 casualties we had it there only, but yes, we captured about 10 of the people and of course killed about 15, 20 of them, BOP separately. And after that, so then there is Shamsher is the one which is a communication center there. From there, we moved on to that particular Shamsher. And then Shamsher is the place, of course, which is very important. And there, of course, with the 2 battalions, we had gone in there only. And that is where, we, of course, we did capture it. But I must mention here, there's one of the boys there of the 3rd Punjab. So he, in fact, got a bullet of that is the MMG bullet, and his own, in fact, stomach came out rather like this one. And his buddy did it, he put it back only and put it, in fact, field putty on that only, and then he was evacuated. And can you imagine, of course, this boy survived, of course, 6 months he was there in the hospital, but he survived. And similarly, another folk boy, not boy, because it was Lieutenant Colonel, but later on he rose to Lieutenant General. And he got injured on his, toe. And he was evacuated. War, he was evacuated after about 5-6 hours. But this colonel, the second was in fact evacuated within about half an hour. And ultimately, his leg had to be amputated below the knee. I just want to say only the evacuation, because what all the casualty we can get taken. Now coming to, in fact, from there, of course, we move on to the, Maulubida, they were the brigade, of course, was there only, we captured that brigade, of course, also with all the 3 battalions, and then from there only moved to the So from there, of course, we were told, okay, it was, it was in Shamsher only when the 3rd December came. And on the first day itself, if you remember, all those who had taken part, that we had destroyed, our Air Force had destroyed the Air Force on the first day. And the message which came to us, 2 messages which came there on the first day, we are at war with Pakistan on the 3rd. I said, we are already in India. Because of what war? Because we are already in India only. But the second, the message which was very heartening, that any aircraft you see in the air will be Indian. That was the greatest thing which you can see, because the Air Force can pay hell as far as you are concerned. Your own operations will be, in fact, jeopardized in case, of course, you don't care of it. So that was very, in fact, it was taken with a great. Now, coming to your point, of course, Ankil, the thing is that General Sagat was told that he don't move towards the Dhaka, and we were there. To tell you very frankly, we had moved from there on to Agartala. In fact, before from the same Maulubida, we moved to the period except for 3rd Punjab, we moved to Agartala. 3rd Punjab moved on to Sylhet and direct. Later with the 101 from the communication zone area. So we moved to Agartala to be dropped into the area of Dhaka University in case the Pakistani do not surrender on the 60th. In the meantime, what had happened there only that the orders which were given to the Foko was only that they will not cross that river. And they will remain on. The orders which were given from the command headquarters were given from the army headquarters. But Sagat, in fact, his own information came also that that is, the Pakistanis are not there on the other side, and I can always move there only. I think if you have seen one of the movies also which has come up on that only, this thing, the PT-76 tanks, they moved, in fact, along the river. And of course, infantry, of course, they were moved by air, but in the helicopters only one by one behind that. In fact, the Pakistanis, and when they were behind the band, also the Pakistan was, whatever the force they were there only, they were in fact complete surprise. And that is how, of course, they moved back from there only, and then, of course, they went on to the time.
Right, sir.
In fact, so that is where, of course, we were supposed to go into that only, but ultimately, when the war finished only, we were in India. We were back in India. Totally, yeah.
So thank you. Thank you for sharing that incredible story, and thank you so much for being here. Well, the moment Pakistan's Lieutenant General A.K. Niazi signed the instrument of surrender in Dhaka is etched in the annals of history. Present to his right is Lieutenant General J.S. Arora, and to his left is veteran newscaster Surajit Sen of All India Radio, holding a microphone to capture the momentous day. In the background, standing are Vice Admiral Neelkanta Krishnan, Air Marshal Hari Chand Diwan, and Lieutenant General Sagat Singh and Major General J.F.R. Jacob. When the instrument of surrender was being signed, a flying officer was also caught on camera, peeping over Major General J.F.R. Jacob's shoulder. This was Wing Commander S.S. Krishnamurthy, trying to have a closer look at the proceedings. A young officer back then, he joins us on the broadcast today. Sir, appreciate you joining us, and thank you so much for being here. So what do you remember of that day? You are in that picture. What were you trying to see? And what was that room like? What was that atmosphere like where Pakistan was surrendering? And how were the Indian how are the Indian side trying to contain their excitement in front of you?
I must tell you, please understand that it was not inside a room. It was in the open racecourse area. That is a place where late Mujib had stood and given a lecture and declared East Pakistan as free Bangladesh. So it was arranged quickly. A table was put, 2 chairs they managed to bring from somewhere, and the place where dutifully was given to General Jagat Singh, Lieutenant General, and Niazi Sahab. And I had a camera and I was trying to take some photographs, and my flash bulbs are all over. It was not working. And the lights are dim. The sunset was about to take place. It was the dusk time. So I said, might as well go and see what they are signing. I was curious enough to see, and I had recorded a very great thing, that if I tell you that gold-capped pen brought for this occasion did not write. Yes, it did not write. And they took out another pen and they tried to see. Niazi very easily put the A, after that it wouldn't write. Then I think it was Surajit Sahab who had given his pen, and finally it was signed with an ordinary pen, not a gold cap, not a thing for signing, as if they were refusing to sign the surrender document. But what you must remember is this surrender was the second serious surrender in the entire history of the world. The other first which surrender took place was in Singapore, and one on the ship. This was in the open area. The chaos going on there, each one shuffling, each one pulling each other, and there was a great worry that the people who were free enough with their arms, they could do some mischief. But Indian Army was very smart. They had taken the arms away and told the army, Pakistani army, and the Muktiamani people, just relax, we will look after the situation. That is how the place had peace. This took barely 15 minutes, and after that it was darkness. So after that we had, from the airfield nearby called Agartala, we had gone away and we had parked our helicopter wherever there was place, because there was no place to park an aircraft. There was no place to take off. There was no place to, because Indian Army, Indian Air Force and the fighters and transport aircrafts had bombarded the airfields in and around Dhaka. So there was no question. As earlier was told by Brigadier Khanna, that there was total air superiority. Tangail dropped. After that, late Bishnoi Sahab had gone, and squadron leader Masand also had gone and attacked the governor's bungalow. Thereafter, it was decided very clearly, the helicopters held the ground there and crossed the Meghna and took over the Dhaka. This was the trump card used by General Sagat Singh. We had carried out a trial in Sylhet. We had trialed out in Brahmanbaria, and now to cross the Meghna river was the cherry on the cake. We did that, and it was decided that total takeover of the army, Pakistani army will surrender, and Eastern Command of the army that take over. General Jacob went and told them that if you don't surrender, the locals will take care of you. If you surrender, we will look after you, and Geneva Convention will apply, and you will be transferred to India, and we will look after you. That is how General Niazi decided to surrender. After that, it was over. But on that day, I must tell you that we had all come in the helicopter, armed, the ground fire plenty. We had bullet holes all over. It was sheer luck that none had gone into the engine, none had gone on the rotors, none had gone on the pilot. One pilot was injured and he was taken care of. No casualties, no incidents, no accidents. Our maintenance crew totally took over and looked after our helicopters, and we were at their good maintenance, and we were very happy flying in the night, flying in the day, flying in darkness, not so darkness, dusk time or dawn time.
Right.
This would go in the history of the helicopter, and you will realize that the helicopter need not be armed to fight a war. They can still win the war without any arms and ammunition. That's
right. Sir, thank you so much for that wonderful story, and you as is have detailed out what exactly happened that day, and thanks for sharing that with us. Thank you so much. Well, the Battle of Longewala stands as a remarkable testament to strategic brilliance and indomitable courage. Taking place in the Thar Desert, the battle saw a small contingent of Indian soldiers led by Major Kuldeep Singh Chandpuri successfully defend the Longewala outpost against a vastly superior Pakistani force. Despite being heavily outnumbered and facing a formidable array of tanks and infantry, the Indian defenders utilized their limited resources, including air support, to inflict heavy losses on the enemy. The battle not only halted the enemy's advance, but also showcased the resilience and tactical acumen that would contribute to India's eventual victory in the war. With us is one of the Bravehearts, Lieutenant Colonel Kulvinder Singh, to share his story. Lieutenant Colonel Singh, I appreciate you joining us, sir. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you very well.
All right, sir. So please, narrate for us, what are your memories of that fateful day? Describe to us what the scenario was. It's an auspicious day to be hearing from you, to be listening to you. It's 15th of August, and it's important to understand that some of these stories define what India is today.
Thank you so much for bringing me up on the air. And let me start with, first of all, congratulations all men and women of our nation, and as well as the armed forces, and for the Independence Day celebration. And I think we deserve the Independence Day celebration. Now, coming back to the story, somehow, this big movie called Border almost misled the nation. And why? And I won't blame the director. He did a fantastic job. It was one of the best war movies. But, the aim is different. He is a movie maker. He had to see from his angle. But from the army angle, there certain things were missed out. There was a lot of controversy going on, and I've I've gone on YouTube, and people are trying to blame each other. There's no blame, and I was there, right there. And General Shah, who retired as the Deputy Chief of Indian Army, he was the adjutant of the regiment. Now, as we have been talking about the eastern side, Bangladesh creation, what happened was at that time, the Pakistan was so desperate because they could not accept the fact that they have lost a big chunk of their territory. So they wanted to grab equal amount of territory on the western side. So they had a grand plan because they thought desert is all vacant, all available, and if you send tanks in a very fast movement, and they can capture a big chunk of land from India. But they didn't know that on the other side, the Indian Army is watching and very well prepared. But we were a bit of surprised too, because we had the offensive plan. Rajasthan border was being covered by two divisions, 11 day in the Barmet sector and 12 day in the Jaisalmer sector. So 12 day was supposed to advance and go deep inside Pakistan territory, and there's a place called Rahim Yar Khan, which is an important communication hub. So we were supposed to capture it. So on the morning of 4th, 5th night, December 71, so we were all geared up to go towards this side. And first objective, Islamgarh was captured, and all the division was on the line, and there was one track, duckboard track, and everybody going lined up on that. So the forward elements have already gone. And I was part of 185 Light Regiment, which is now called 1851 Light Regiment. So I was the commanding a Romeo battery, which is supposed to be a Papa Quebec Romeo, just like Alpha Bravo Charlie Company. So my turn was coming to be the last. I was supposed to move toward this Islamgarh side at around 11 o'clock in the morning. But at around midnight, I got a call from my commanding officer, Kul, you have to get up now and go toward Longewala. I said, sir, Longewala, that's not my area. He said, no, you have to go. I said, I don't have maps. He said, don't worry, the infantry will give you maps. So we were already packed up, so within few minutes we took off and went toward Longewala. And then our movement was followed up by our bright adjutant and then Captain Zamiruddin Shah. So we reached Longewala around 2 o'clock or around that time, and somebody said infantry took off and there were 2 or 3 soldiers, and this is all nonsense. People are there, infantry are very well organized, and idea here is to appreciate people who did something, not that he did this and somebody go into the air and he's watching on the ground, and as it is when the aircraft comes, everybody hide. So you can't see anything. So observation from anyone of that kind of observation, you cannot take it except as truth. So the fact was, I went there, the maps were given, infantry 23 Punjab was well organized. NCOs came and gave me the maps, so we deployed. They also told me, sir, this is the likely gun area, and which was just behind, there's a road going behind Longewala post, and I've been there now 3 times after the war. And so we deployed just close to the wall, and I could see the post because there's a temple there. So that's all I could see. And then the 2 soldier was sent with my OP officer, that's called observation post officer. Now somehow the guns were within range, but there were no artillery observation post officer on the post. So Captain Datta walked through the night, and the tanks were surrounding the post. There was noise going on, there was firing going on, and Captain Datta liked walking in the shadow. And he climbed off the post and he was greeted by Chandpuri. They hugged each other, and Chandpuri gave the bunker next to him as his observation post place. So in the meantime, I being the senior-most officer there, and we had no idea because we had the instrument to deploy the guns to find out the grid system where we deploy. We had nothing. So it was all on imagination or just your judgment. So I saw the temple and I said, this is a distance. I didn't want to fire on my own troops. Right, so we kept a safe distance and we deployed the gun. So we were ready about 5:30 or so, and then it was dark. In the meantime, the Pakistan Army had walked into our area. They crossed the border at 2 o'clock in the morning on the 5th of December, 71. Now they stopped because they saw some barbed wire around the post, and they thought it's a minefield. So they kept carrying out reconnaissance to make sure there are no mines and they are not blown up. So when they were sure there are no mines, they wanted an infantry assault. Now they knew there was no artillery, but they didn't know that we had come with a very great speed, and I did crash action deployment, and we were ready. So in the darkness, Air Force could not come. Hunters could not fly at night. So we were the only people who could fire. So I told Captain Datta that just fire in the direction of the enemy, keep distance safe. So he added about 3,000 yards more than what he could think about his post location, and we started bombarding them. So Pakistan Army was totally surprised, because they didn't expect artillery fire. And as you know, we were carrying mortars, heavy mortars. Now the difference between heavy mortars and the field guns is, if they're sand dunes, the field regiment shell will fly over. But the mortar shell will come right on the top of the head from behind the sand dune. So that was very devastating, and we kept firing. We were carrying ammunition for about 2 days, which is first line ammunition. We fired within 3-4 hours. And after 3-4 hours, we ran out of ammunition, and Captain Datta and GP, I said, no, if we don't fire, then we'll be getting a bad name for the whole regiment of artillery. So we started firing smoke ammunition. And smoke ammunition, as all my colleagues will understand, this is fired only when our own troops are attacking. So Pakistan thought that Indian army is on the attack and they're going to assault us. So they try to disappear now. And then around 7:30 a.m., now we continued firing about 1.5 hours to 1 hour 45 minutes. Then Air Force came at 7:30 a.m.
Right, sir.
So when Air Force would come, artillery will stop because we don't want to hit our own aircraft. So they came and they also did amazing job.
Right,
They
sir.
bombarded.
Unfortunately, I'll have to stop you, sir. We have a paucity of time. In fact, we are going to be overshooting. But appreciate you joined us, sir, and you shared your legacy and your story. Thank you so much for speaking with NewsX. All right, moving on. India's decisive victory in 1971 in merely 13 days is still a source of great jubilance. However, the battle had or was witness to both highs and lows. One of the hardest fought battles was at Chamb in Jammu and Kashmir. Prior to the outbreak of war in 1971, Chamb was under Indian control. It was handed back by Pakistan under the Tashkent Agreement after the 1965 war. Here, Indian troops were faced with the prospect of having to defend two fronts. The Indian Army's main goal was to prevent a Pakistani advance towards Akhnur, which serves as the main line of communications to the Indian Army headquarters. The sector came under the ambit of the 10 Infantry Division, and preparations for an offensive dominated activities. The defense plan merely envisaged denial of area to Pakistani troops for 48 hours. However, there was a change from an offensive to a defensive posture on the 1st of December 1971. Yet, the deployment still had an offensive bias. This cost India. And despite all adversity, our troops put up a valiant front, inflicting serious losses on the Pakistani side. A tactical retreat led to Pakistan's capturing documents that revealed battle plans. An immediate recapture of the area was envisaged beyond capability of the infantry company. Plans to launch a counter-offensive began to be drawn up. However, the Pakistani army surrendered shortly after the withdrawal. And during withdrawal, no one imagined that war would end so abruptly. Yet tales of grit, valor and sacrifice from Chamb still live on. Colonel V.K. Sahi was one such veteran who fought in Chamb. He joins us at this point in time. Sir, appreciate you taking out the time and joining us. Sir, to begin with, you wrote a letter to Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw for a war posting. Where were you when you did so, sir, is the first question. And how was his response?
I was at Gwalior. I was on staff, grade 3 staff there. And Gwalior was also the regimental center for Jaikrib, where the battalion which was in war, their casualties were landing up, the war wounded, to the hospitals. So I was feeling guilty, being a fighting fit soldier, being in a peace station, while my colleagues, my battalion, my troops, they were fighting a war. So I wrote to Field Marshal, then Chief, General Manekshaw, and he must have pulled up somebody, because before that I had applied for a posting back to the battalion, which somehow was not agreed to, and they sent me a long query. Are you missing a career report? Why do you want this posting? Have you earned the annual confidential report? Are you avoiding a report? You know, that kind of irrelevant questions. So then I wrote to Chief, who responded very promptly, but must have pulled out somebody in the MS branch. So my posting came forthwith to a platoon involved in war, but not my battalion. My battalion was fighting on east. They posted me on the western front in the Chamb sector to a paramilitary force in J&K militia, 8th battalion. And forthwith posting, you can't wait, you have to move within 24 hours. So I moved forthwith, joined this battalion, and that is where the tides turned. It was, though a new battalion for me, but wonderful troops, Dogras, Sikhs, excellent fighters, and a very seasoned battalion. And I thought that was a very healthy, happy turning point for my career. Although initially I felt quite run down that I'm being sent away from my battalion with whom I had trained for war earlier. So new people, new environment, new circumstances, a different battlefield, but then that's how the God's doings are, all eventually worked very well, giving me full opportunity to try out every technique that I had learned for fighting a war.
So you were promptly posted to Cham after that as the company commander in the 8th Jammu and Kashmir Militia. Could you share a little bit about the team that you led there?
Well, the war was a severe one. Pakistan, having lost face in East and knowing that they are going to lose Bangladesh, tried to attack in the Western Theatre. All our airfields were bombed on 3rd of December at 8:10 to 8:20 in the evening. And it was simultaneously attacks were launched, including on my post at Lalyali. Battle of Lalyali later became famous because I was attacked 5 times, and with the brave participation of our troops, all 5 attacks were beaten back, giving enemy lot of loss of dead which they left behind, strewn all over, all around my post. So it came well. As a good change, as a warrior, we did face a lot of hardships. Like our water tank was blown up in the enemy shelling. There was no water supply. I was cut off from my main battalion because they had captured a feature between my post and my battalion and occupied that. It took some time before we cleared it. So I was getting no supplies. I had plenty of ammunition though, but there was no water. And at some stage, troops were forced to chew leaves. Similar was the situation of another company, and I recall a very interesting conversation between a fellow company commander, Vidya Sagar, and the battalion commander, Jaspir Pal Singh Sandhu. The company commander asked him, "Sir, there is no water. We have had no water." And prompt came the battalion commander's response, "You got plenty of enemy in front. Kill them, drink blood, out." So that was the spirit of war. That was the courage of war. That was the, kind of give the enemy a bloody nose and get through it. Bear through any hardships, bear through anything, and fight and fight and fight for the nation. So that kind of spirit was there not only in the commanding officer, among us company commanders, also down to every man, every troop, every man Johnny was prepared to do his best. And that is probably their doing the best brought us the victory.
And so the Pakistanis attacked soon after, despite the war on the Eastern Front. Was there any wind of their attack? Any preparations that were made to counter, or was it, something very sudden?
No, in the West, we were by and large taken for surprise. We weren't expecting it here, but then they wanted to probably diversionary attack here to reduce the pressure on the East. Secondly, their aim was to come and cut off at Akhnur and gain that area of Nowshera, Rajouri and Punch. Geographically, it was almost as gaining back a area of land equal to Bangladesh, and it would have been better for them to got a contiguous area to West Pakistan extending up to Punch, but that is what their planning was, which was defeated, giving them a bloody nose. And they lost on both fronts. Eastern front, Bangladesh came into being. They lost East Pakistan forever. Western front, they were bashed up bashed up and they left. Lot of dead. Eastern Theatre is remarkable with their 93,000 prisoners. They surrendered and laid down their arms. Historically, it is the biggest ever surrender of a fighting force. So the death rate, the casualty rate on the enemy in the Western Theatre was much high. You can assume with that, I lost 17 men from my battalion. Enemy left back 84 dead bodies, which we handed them over after the war and after ceasefire.
Sir, obviously all wars happen with cooperation, but what was the coordination with some of the other regiments like and the divisions like?
It was an excellent comrade, lovely friendship, excellent support. Our gunners, 861 Light Regiment, they fought very well. They were giving me the artillery support, and I never felt wanting. Every time I called for fire, sometimes personally, mostly through my OP. Captain Sahid was there, and Captain IP Singh was there, and both wonderful OPs, and they could always bring down fire where I wanted. So it was a good experience joining them, being with them, and getting the fire support as I required.
Sir, I also heard a story that your gun got jammed while fighting the Pakistani soldiers, and yet you went ahead and engaged in hand-to-hand combat. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yes, I must talk about this gentleman, the company commander from Pakistan. A gentleman later I learned was called Farooq Ali. Brave soldier. I must admit that soldiers are soldiers. After all, he was doing for his country exactly what I was doing for my country. And we got too close into the war. A stage came where it came to a one-to-one show. And each time I hit him, whether with the bayonet or with the butt, my stun gun had stopped firing, some technical error. So it came down to blows and kicks, and each time he was hit, this guy would say, Pakistan, Zindabad, Pakistan, Zindabad. And he said that till he breath his last. Brave soldier, a tall Pathan, much taller than me. But then, war is war. I would have loved to meet this man anywhere other than kill each other kind of a situation where only one of us could have survived to tell the story. He left behind with his dead body an insurance form which he had filled and not posted, a letter to his Begum. I sent all these documents back with his body when we handed it over after ceasefire, that is around 20th, 21st of December. And I also sent a citation for the gallant fight he put against me and against my troops, admiring his gallantry, and saluted his body as it was taken away. Well, that is our tradition and custom. Unlike Pakistanis, they probably pull out your parts of the body, pull out the eyes, cut private parts, do all kind of filthy things. Well, that is their ethos, their custom, their way of fighting a war. We honor the dead. So much so, the dead which could not be taken away in subsequent operations like Kargil, we organized their cremation according to their religious rites by bringing them on board. That is our way of fighting up. Gallantry and cruelty are different. Bravery is entirely different than such acts of pettiness. So we look at war as a dharma. We look at war as a duty to nation. We don't go into personal animosity. They probably are motivated in a different way. Our operations don't include hate. Our wars are fought with courage and dignity. They motivate their troops and soldiers, I think, by building on fanatism, religious fanatism, and hatred. The ethos differs, the nations differ, the psychology differ, and so do the soldiers differ.
And so last question, what do you think was the pivot point during the Battle of Chamb? Because we had the artillery, we had the strength as well. So why did India, hastily withdraw towards the end?
Once we are talking about withdrawal, let me tell you, Lalyali never withdrew. And it is known as Battle of Lalyali. It is now taught as a unique battle fought by a surrounded, isolated company, and not an inch. Lalyali picket never withdrew. They were reverses of the 10th Division. They all had to consolidate on the eastern bank. While Lalyali was on the western bank, it continued to be on the western bank. It is on the western bank till today with our national tricolor flying proudly there. The reverses which some of our troops had to face were a security failure. Our concentration was completely on the eastern theatre, where we had a resounding victory, but probably we did not cater for a massive Pakistani attack building up against us in the western theatre. So I think at some stage Pakistan had started giving up on the eastern theatre, which eventually ended up in their 92,000 fighting soldiers surrendering with arms. They had given up there, but instead they launched an attack this side, to which we were taken by surprise to a large extent.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.